Good evening. Kumbawa. Bonjour. 100 years ago tonight, 58 brave men lost their lives in a single avalanche at the summit of Rogers Pass in the Selkirk Mountains, northeast of Revelstoke. This evening, we are assembled to honor their memory, to reflect on our relationship with the mountains, and to hope for the safety of all those who travel in the mountains in winter. 32 of the 58 men who lost their lives were of Japanese origin. It is believed that if you fold 1,000 paper cranes and link them together, your wish will come true. You will hear more on the cranes this evening later, but as you can see over here, many people have become part of the story. To fold the wish into a crane, to never see such a tragedy again. Hello, my name is Tierney, and I'm the superintendent of Mount Revelstoke and Glacier National Park and Rogers Pass National Historic Site. I will be your master of ceremonies for this evening. Welcome, yokoso, and bienvenue. Thank you to the Revelstoke Community Choir for their musical tribute in memory of those who lost their lives in Rogers Pass. We are honored to have a number of special guests with us to help us with this evening's service. Our official party will be introduced as part of the program, but there are a number of other guests I would like to recognize at this time. And I'm going to ask if you would just stand and wave. Peter Scheer is the former snow research and avalanche safety specialist working for the National Research Council of Canada. He is currently a director of the Canadian Avalanche Foundation. Walter Schleiss, formerly of the Snow Research Avalanche Warning Section with Parks Canada. Edie Schleiss, whose husband Fred was the senior forecaster for Parks Canada in charge of the Snow Research Avalanche Warning Section from 1965 to 1991. Bruce McMahon is the current senior avalanche officer with Parks Canada. Jamie Fitzgerald is a councillor with the town of Golden. Linda Lafleur, community liaison at the Columbia Basin Trust. Dr. John G. Woods, author, Snow War, A History of Rogers Pass and Glacier Country, and former Parks Canada research scientist and also a member of our organizing committee. Mary Clayton, communications director with the Canadian Avalanche Centre and a member of the organizing committee. Thank you to you for joining us tonight. I would like to invite Jennifer Dunkerson, the executive director of the Revelstoke Railway Museum, and Cathy English, curator, Revelstoke Museum and Archives, to provide an historical overview. Jennifer and Cathy are also members of the organizing committee.
March 4th, 1910 was the 9th day of a storm cycle. At the summit of Rogers Pass, more than 2 meters of snow had fallen, a ½ meter on March 4th alone. From a daytime high of minus 20 degrees Celsius at the start of the cycle, the air temperature at the pass had soared to above freezing. In the late afternoon of March 4th, an avalanche came down the slopes of Mount Cheops, burying the rail line at the summit. With the main line blocked, a passenger train bound for Vancouver was forced to wait at the Rogers Pass station just east of the avalanche. A work train dispatched from Revelstoke made its way to the western edge of the slide. Scores of men, aided by a rotary snowplow, toiled in the night to clear the line. The rotary plow slowly churned a deep trench through the heavy snow, hampered by dense debris. The workers entered the trench to clear the tracks with their shovels. It was near midnight when the deadly slide hit. It came from the opposite side of the valley, off the slopes of Mount Avalanche. The trench where the men were working became a tomb. When the flurry of snow and wind subsided, there were few survivors. The final death toll, 58 brave men. In the early hours of March 5th, word of the tragedy reached Revelstoke. Alarm bells summoned the town to the rescue.
The citizens of Revelstoke were quick to respond. Within hours, a train of railwaymen and volunteers, old and young, headed into the night. Over the next few days, hundreds of workers converged on the site for the grim task of recovering the dead. The victims reflect Canada's cultural mosaic. They were Japanese, English, Irish, Scottish, Swedish, Danish, and Polish. Some had lived in Canada for generations. Others were more recent immigrants. They were foremen, bridgemen, engine crew, and laborers, as young as 19, as old as 48. All of them had family, wives, children, parents, siblings, in Revelstoke, across Canada, in Europe and Japan. As the scope of the disaster was realized, a profound sadness descended on the town. Hundreds of Revelstoke citizens gathered for a memorial service on March 20th. They sung the hymns the community choir are singing tonight. They said prayers and consoled each other. United in their grief, families of the victims faced their worst fears and mourned their loved ones. The mother of James Moffat wrote to CPR Superintendent Kilpatrick from Belfast, Ireland, "My son is a great loss to me. My heart is broke about my dear son, cut away just in the bud of manhood, away where I will never see his grave." Respected in death as in life, these men found their last resting places across Canada. Multiple funerals were held here and in other communities. In Vancouver, Bishop Sasaki of the Buddhist Church chanted sutras for the 32 Japanese men prior to their burial in Vancouver's Mountain View Cemetery. 14 men are buried in Revelstoke Cemetery, 2 are buried in Golden, others are buried across Canada, and 1 in Wales. In the words of one person at the time, speaking of the grief felt by families left behind, the snowslides of the spring of 1910 will long be remembered.